Hello, my friend. Welcome to live chat. This should be an interesting chat, my friends. Actually, I just noticed my microphone's a little bit too far away. Let's see how that goes. Hopefully that works out okay. Hello. Okay, so we have things to talk about because I know, like you and me, we are indie beauty lovers. We like to support small businesses. We like to, support people's dreams to start their own companies and all that stuff. Like we love that stuff in this community. Maybe not everybody, but I feel like a lot of us do. And a lot of us buy indie makeup. And there is a new law that just went into place in December. Well, parts of it, not the whole thing, but parts of it. The rest of it is coming. It is called MOCRA here in the US, Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act. And what prompted this live chat was a post that I saw on Menagerie Cosmetics Instagram. And it really gave me the, oh my gosh, like, what is this going to change everything? Is this going to change everything? Because it could. It absolutely could. So we're going to get into the details of Menagerie's post. We're going to talk about that. I also did a little bit of research just looking at the FDA website, kind of getting it summarized of what MOCRA is, what is going to go into place, and how is it going to not only affect indie brands, but how's it going to affect mainstream brands. And then I found a really interesting article. I just realized I didn't put in the description my links. I'll put those in as soon as chat's done. I will put the links of where I got all this stuff. But there was a personal care council has a website. And there was an FAQ section. I got some stuff off of there. And then Beauty Independent interviewed a bunch of small beauty brand owners. And I have like the information from there, like all these different small beauty brand owners. There's a lot of skincare companies. There's hair care companies, makeup companies. A lot of them I didn't recognize, but I'm not deep into like indie hair care. You know what I'm saying? So, but still, they interviewed a bunch of small business owners, which is the point of it. And I kind of summarized what they were saying and what their biggest concerns were with MOCRA and how that's going to affect us as consumers and what it's all about. So I think that it's important for us to touch base on this. And I thank Menagerie for being so open and honest about how they're going about changing things over there. So, and I don't know, before anybody asks, I do not know how this is going to affect brands that are outside of the US as far as regulations. If you know about cosmetic regulations in the US, if you're a US company, you have to have certain labels in order to sell in the EU, for example. So I don't know if EU companies now have to abide by MOCRA. I didn't get that deep into it. I didn't get that far. I couldn't find that right away. So if anybody does know the answer, I will definitely share if I see it. And if I find it after, I'll add it into the description box. But no matter what, this is going to make a huge difference if you buy any cosmetics coming out of the United States, no matter where you live. So before we do that, before we get into Menagerie's post, that's where we're going to start. I do want to quickly say hello to the people that are here live in the collective braid of makeup awesomeness. If you are watching on the replay, they should be over yonder. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, if you're on a phone, flip your phone horizontal. You should see them on the left-hand side. If this is just rendered, they may not be there yet because YouTube takes its sweet time getting the chat to show up, but I have listed it so the chat will be there. And I miss a lot. If you watch on the replay, you get to see more than I get to see because I can't read all of the things. While I'm sitting here live. But let me go ahead and say good morning very quickly. Hello, Tish. Good morning to you. So good to see you, my friend. Hello, Cynthia. Good to see you. Hi, Roya. Hello, Slick. Good morning or afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Good morning, Tracy. Happy Sunday. Consuelo, good morning to you. Jennifer, good morning. Happy Sunday. Congrats again on 300K subs. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I am so excited about it. It's very cool. It's very cool. It's really just like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a vanity metric, but at the same time, it's kind of cool that like that many people like what I'm doing, want to be a part of this. Like that's just really cool. Just really, really happy and thankful. Really thankful that y'all are digging what I'm doing over here. Kim, happy Sunday from Vegas. Hello to Vegas. Hi, Kayla. Good morning to you. And Teresa, hello and welcome back, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I hope you were doing well, Teresa, my fabulous moderator. I saw Flory is floating around. Thank you for being here, Teresa and Flory. And hopefully we'll see Steph and Audra pop in. Thank you if they are able to make it. Thank you so much for being here. They keep our space nice and safe, make sure nothing weird's going on. So thank you so much for volunteering your time. I appreciate you so, so much. And if I did, let's just stop it there. If I did not say good morning to you, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here. The Jade Dragon, just very quickly, Jen says, I just watched the video about your origin story of YouTube. Reminds me a lot of the situation I'm going through right now, which is kind of inspiring. Thank you. Well, I really hope that you find happiness and peace. And one thing I thought at that time was that I was alone, that I was the only one feeling alone at that time. So, I don't wish that on anybody, but hopefully knowing that other people, because there's so many comments like yours that I got on that video, that people that are feeling the same thing that you're feeling right now. And I'm so sorry that you're going through that. And I hope that you were able to find some peace and some happiness in things in your life, whatever is going on. Because I don't know the exact details, but I hope things get better. I really, really do, because it's really tough. It's really tough. And thank you all to all the positive comments on that origin story video. It's when you're telling things that are about you, you get a little, I get a little nervous about sharing things that are so personal, just because, when you're sharing your real you, people are criticizing the real you. And it's, a little on the scary side, but I don't know any other way to be when it comes down to it. So, and I've been wanting to really break that down for a while. And I thought 300K was a good place to do it. I do have 2 other videos half done that I am looking forward to sharing with you in the coming weeks that I had planned on doing before that video came up. I have a video about strange makeup collabs coming up. And I also have one about preservative-free cosmetics and how we really need to be a little cautious when we see preservative-free cosmetics. And what it really means, because it doesn't necessarily mean preservative-free. So thank you to the members that are congratulating me. Pretty When You're Drunk, thank you so much. And Jen at Indie Kitty 1, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that, Jen. All right, so let's go ahead and let us go over. Oh, one thing real quick. We need to thank so much Adele Jane. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the Collective Brain Elite. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Flory. Thank you, my friend. All right, so let us talk about Mokra, and let's talk about what Menagerie said. So it was first on my feed when I opened up Instagram last night to do a quick last sweep for chat to see if there was anything we wanted to talk about. And this is what was posted. So there's oh, I can't move it over. I just realized I can't move it over. It's going to be over my face. But there's a whole post, and it's broken up into small sections. But this is the Instagram post. I'm going to put it on the screen, but I'll read it in case you're listening. So here we go. It says, with the arrival of the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, MOCRA, we find ourselves at a point of transition, one that affects many within our industry, including our own brand. And just to make sure you know, Menagerie Cosmetics is an independent beauty brand. In accordance with these new FDA regulations, it is imperative that we market our products for their intended use. The classification of our pressed pigment palettes falls into a somewhat ambiguous category, making them difficult to market/advertise under the new law. We have decided starting July 1st that makeup palette shades that require the use of pink or red dyes will need to be formulated using carmine, the only red FDA-approved pigment for eye use. Unfortunately, carmine is not vegan. Our commitment to maintaining as many vegan options as possible remains at the forefront, especially for products not intended for eye use. We intend on increasing the amount of vegan artistry singles options for our vegan customers in the coming months. Rest assured that any future products that cannot be vegan formulated will be clearly labeled as such so that you are well informed before making a purchase. Your understanding and support mean a great deal to us as we navigate these changes, always with a focus on compliance and maintaining the quality and integrity of our products. Thank you for your continued trust and support, Samantha and Jay. Okay, so this is what's happening. One of the things that's happening is that labs and cosmetic brands are needing to report, the labs are needing to report ingredient lists and what these products are. So for years, we've been talking about how there are certain red pigments mostly that are not FDA approved for eye use. Red 6, Red 7, pretty much any red pigment except for Red 40 and Carmine. Red 40 and Carmine are the only, like they were saying, the only approved red pigments. So if you see any other red pigments. So let's see. Let me see if I can find. Okay. Is there anything in this one? No. Okay. The brand new Gourmand Girls palette that I wanted to talk to you about, which is freaking gorgeous. Look at this thing. Oh my gosh. Freaking amazing. Okay. But on the back, it says Red 27 AL Lake. I don't know what AL means, but Red 27 is not FDA approved for eye use. So brands have been using this loophole for years now. I would, ever since the Urban Decay electric palette, whenever that was, they were kind of the first ones brave enough to put that little asterisk on the bottom, that, at least that I know of, that said not intended for eye use. Shades this, and this are not intended for eye use. And once they did it, it kind of exploded, and everybody, like all the brands, started doing it. And there's all these loopholes of how to get around it, where, because let me just say, they're not trying to put anybody in danger. I think that's really important to put out here up front. They're not putting anybody in danger is what it comes down to, because the EU has, there's no issue with this. And, the EU is much more strict overall with cosmetic regulations than we are here in the US. The EU is fine with these things. The problem is, and this is something that I talked to somebody in the industry about when I was initially researching this, the problem is that she said the FDA is a dinosaur, is what she had said when it comes to these red pigments, because over time, when you're synthetically creating something, the process for synthetically creating that thing can change because you learn different ways that make it better or safer or whatever. So what she's saying was, with a lot of these pigments, is that over time, the process of making these pigments have made them so much better. And what may not have been safe for eye use in 1974 is now safe for eye use, because it's, they've changed how they've made it, right? But the FDA hasn't caught up with that, with this specifically. And one of the big reasons why they haven't caught up with this specifically is because it's not hurting anybody. This is not something that is a danger to people, and they don't really, it's just not a priority when you have things that are actually causing cancer. When you have things, formaldehyde releasing agents that we talked about with Dr. Bumpus, the chief scientist over at the FDA, that's actually dangerous, where there are people that are actually getting cancer, most likely due to these formaldehyde releasers in these hair straightening products. So that's their priority. They don't care about these red pigments. They don't care. It's what it seems like. So they haven't taken the time to retest and see whether these pigments are safe for eye use. And that's a problem for basically anybody that makes eyeshadow or eyeliners that include these red pigments. So if the brands now have to report the ingredients and what the product is being used as, that's going to cause a problem for palettes like this starting in December of 2024. That's when that piece goes into effect, is December of 2024. Other things we're going to talk about are already in effect, but that one goes in effect December 2024. So brands do have time to get all of this together. And it's also important to note that MOCRA was passed in 2022 in order to get brands, they've given brands time to adjust to all of these things. But that is one of the major changes that's going to affect indie brands specifically, because one of the reasons why we love indie brands so much is because they are creative in their shades. They are, they come up with these really cool multi-chromes, duochromes, all of that. And that may be affected by this. And and it's going to affect us as consumers if we enjoy those really bold, what they call pressed pigment palettes, which as code for, we have pigments in here we can't say are okay for the eyes legally. So that's kind of what's going on with that piece. Let me go ahead and flip over to the collective brain and see what everybody is talking about. So really quickly, Angie, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate you. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate you as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so really quickly, Allie wanted to know, does anyone here have any idea what's happening with Shroud Cosmetics? I did reach out to Shroud weeks ago to see if I could get any information to share with you. I have not heard anything back. So I did put my feelers out there. I will end up seeing Batty Bean in about a month. So I don't know if I'll be able to share whatever she shares with me, but I'm definitely going to ask her like, what's going on with that? But I've never met her before, so I feel a little weird just like reaching out, but I'm going to ask her, because I would wonder, I don't know if she would even know. Like, would she even know? I don't know. But I would love to find out. And just so you know, I tried. I did reach out, but they didn't get back to me. So yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. If I find out anything that I can share with you, I will 100% share it with you. But I have a feeling they're just dropping off the map. If you can cancel orders, I would say cancel your order. If you can get your money back from your bank. I don't know if at this point they've been gone so long. If you haven't gotten your money back, I don't know if you can even get it at this point, but it seems like they're dead. It's the brand itself, not the people. Let me be clear. It seems like the brand itself, they just flaked. And that happens with indie brands sometimes. It was one of the reasons why I stopped covering as many indie brands, was because people were coming to me. I remember there was one that had like a Cthulhu palette. I don't even remember what the brand was, but I talked about it on What's Up in Makeup, and the brand stopped fulfilling orders, and people came to me and they were like, I trusted you. I trusted you to share, brands that were trustworthy. And I bought this palette, and now, I've lost my money. And it's like, I'm just telling you the thing. So I ended up having to put like a disclaimer and just kind of saying, hey, I don't know these brands. Like I'm just telling you, it's up to you. It makes it really tricky and complicated, because I don't want somebody taking my recommendation and seeing something in What's Up in Makeup and then buying something and not getting their stuff. But it's one of those things when you buy something from a small business, unfortunately, sometimes things happen. So I don't remember what the name of the brand was back then, Ross. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, it does happen every once in a while with indie brands where they just fall off and people just don't ever get their orders. I've seen it happen a handful of times. It doesn't seem to happen often. I've seen it happen maybe 3 or 4 times total in the 12 years that I've been doing this. But when I first started, there really weren't a lot of indie brands, so I don't know if that even counts. But yeah, it doesn't happen that often. So definitely, when you see a brand new indie brand, you might want to wait till they get their feet wet to order anything that you're not, dying over. Especially, okay, this is the biggest red flag. This is when I really noticed. I know this is off topic from MOCRA, but when an indie brand is brand new and they, releasing this, releasing that, and then they have like an eyeshadow palette specifically, and it's getting a lot of attention. Maybe Trend Mood posted it. Maybe, it somehow it's gotten out there. And this particular thread on Instagram for this one palette is way more attention than the brand has ever seen when you look back. Like, this is their like palette that's going to break them out. I would caution you buying that palette because that is when I sometimes see brands get overwhelmed. They can't fulfill orders and people get screwed. But if you see a brand getting a lot of attention and they've had launches like that before and they've handled them before, you're probably going to be okay. But that's just something that I have subjectively noticed as a red flag for me personally. You have to decide what's best for you. Don't come after me if it doesn't work out for you, because I'm just telling you my experience. You got to decide what you want to do. But that's kind of my guideline. So that's, kind of off topic. Let's go ahead. And yeah, it is. And Allie, it is very concerning. And it's one of those things where I've heard, yeah, she's not responding to PayPal either. Wow. It's not good. And that brand has had some major launches before. That's the thing about Shroud, is that they've released many things. Like, they've been around for a minute. Like, what happened? I don't know. But if I can ever share anything, I will 100% share with you. So, all right. And then Horse Arm says, I wonder if it will be a situation where people can sell these shades labels as pressed pigment, not for the eyes like they do now. So I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to sell them as singles. They're going to have to sell these shadows as singles, or as in a palette that it just has those, and call it a body palette, or, a face palette or something like that. And specifically put, and they can't the thing is that they can't advertise it on the eyes. So let's say I have a full palette full of pressed pigments. I can't put a picture on my Instagram of people using that on their eyes. You just can't do that until they change it. So that's the risk. You can put swatches on your arm. Like, you can show swatches on your arm. Some people were doing face swatches like this and body swatches, but you can't put them in the eye area. So it's harder to advertise that, you may want to put these on your eyes when you legally you can't. So that's going to change. All right. So now that we've dug a little deep into the pressed pigment thing, let me go ahead and just read you a little bit about what is going on with MOCRA. So like I said, it's the Modernization Cosmetics Regulation Act of 2022. It's a significant legislative update in the United States aimed at enhancing the regulation and safety of cosmetic products. Because, we've been whining and complaining here in the US, the FDA doesn't do enough to protect us when it comes to the safety of cosmetics. Okay. Before MOCRA, the cosmetic industry was largely self-regulated with minimal mandatory oversight by the FDA. Companies could submit this stuff, but they didn't have to. It was optional. The act marks the first major regulatory overhaul for cosmetics in over 80 years, aiming to ensure products are safer for consumers and to give the FDA more authority to oversee the industry. It did go into effect September 29th of 2023, with labeling requirements going into effect at the end of 2024. So it's not necessarily December. The end of 2024 is what my note says. So yes, right here. Horse arms. Yeah, I can see this being a huge issue for ColourPop. Oh, 100%. Because they have eyeliners too. It's not just the shadows, it's eyeliners, which is one of the reasons why they had a class action lawsuit against them, was because they were so flagrantly going against the FDA regulations. But the class action judge was like, I don't know why you're bringing this to me. Is anybody hurt? No. You sure nobody's hurt? Nobody can prove they were hurt by these things. No. Then go to the FDA and complain to them. Is what the judge said, basically. So, oh no, it wasn't Vampire Cosmetics. That was a different one, the Cthulhu palette. This was many years ago, pre-Vampire Cosmetics. I don't think Vampire Cosmetics has been around. It wasn't Vampire Cosmetics. I can guarantee you that. But I feel bad now because it definitely wasn't Vampire Cosmetics. I can't remember what it was though. This was probably 2015, 2016 maybe. It was a long time ago. All right, so what's new? So that's kind of the rundown of what MOCRA is. What's new? First thing, product manufacturers must maintain records of any health-related adverse effects for 6 years. For small businesses that have under $1 million in sales, I forget what the time period is, but smaller businesses, they need to keep track of issues for every 3 years. For 3 years, they have to keep track and hold on to these records of anybody that had a health-related adverse event. So if I use my Sydney Grace palette and it gets in my eyes and it makes my eyes all red, and I go to the optometrist and they say, you have, whatever is happening, I contact Sydney Grace. Sydney Grace is one of my favorite brands, by the way. So it's nothing against them. I'm just giving an example. So I tell Sydney Grace, hey, I had this issue. I went to the doctor. I just want to let you know. They need to keep record of that for 3 years, because I'm assuming Sydney Grace might make over $1 million. I don't know. I was using that as an example of an indie brand, but a bigger brand like Benefit Cosmetics would keep that record for 6 years. All right. So yes. So that's one. And if there's somebody that, like, let's say I reach out to the brand and I say that I had this issue, they need to report any serious adverse events no later than 15 days after learning about the issue. So the FDA needs to decide what serious means, because if my eye turns red, is that serious? If I'm going blind, of course that's serious. But if my eye turns red, is that serious? If I get atopic dermatitis, is that serious? If I get, hives, is that serious? Like, where's the line of serious? I hope that they define that for brands. Number 2, facilities that manufacture or process cosmetic products for distribution in the US must register with the FDA, which I think is absolutely fantastic. The FDA should know who's making cosmetics. And cosmetics is not just makeup. Cosmetics is body care, hair care, skin care. All of that stuff is considered a cosmetic. Anything that is, I don't know which we'll call it. It's all the things. The only time it stops being a cosmetic when it comes to that stuff is if there is a medical claim on it, like a sunscreen is actually technically considered a drug, believe it or not. Like different devices and things, anything that has any kind of medical claim is it considered a drug. But if it doesn't have a medical claim, like, any body lotions, hair oils, all that, those are all cosmetics. So if you make cosmetics and you're a manufacturer, you have to register with the FDA. In addition, cosmetic manufacturers must list each product with the FDA, including its ingredients and where it's manufactured. So what are you making? So you have a manufacturing facility. What are you making? We're making all these products from all these brands. And whenever they make a new product, they have to report that to the FDA. Not only do they have to say what they're making, they have to submit all the ingredient lists. Can you imagine organizing all of this? I do not envy the people that are organizing this at all, because this is a lot of information. It's a lot. Let me go over to the comments real quick and see what you all are saying. Yes. Saturday Night says, over here clinging to my red indie shadows. Yeah, stock up now because, yeah. Yeah, maybe Ivana says maybe ColourPop and the FDA has some explaining to do. Yeah, I mean the thing is they're not gonna go after ColourPop right now. They're gonna go after ColourPop later, after December of this year. So that's the thing. We'll see. I mean, maybe they won't though. Maybe they won't go after them because nobody's getting hurt. Maybe this is just not gonna have any teeth to it. Maybe they're just not gonna do anything. Well, we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. Jennifer says, exactly. Lots of products cause irritation for me because my eyes are just sensitive, but it's nothing serious. Right. So, I mean, there are people with fragrance allergies. There's people with allergies to avocado, right? And they, to latex. A lot of people with latex allergies are allergic to avocado and a couple other things. So if you use a cream with avocado in it, you might have an allergic reaction. Is that dangerous? There's so many things people are allergic to, fragrances and different things. We'll get into more about fragrance. There's actually a change in the fragrance regulations as well that we'll get into in just a second. I'm parched. Okay. Yeah, SJ says that's why somebody always needs to be in charge of compliance. I'm sure there are many people in charge of compliance with this because this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Yeah. Lizzie says, I see some big eyeshadow sales coming up. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why Menagerie is preparing, right? Danny says, that means James Charles paints are finally going to go away. Probably. They're going to have to. Because I don't think that he's going to be able to sell them with just carmine and make all those colors. That's the thing is that adding in all of those red pigments, red 6 and red 7 and red 26, like that opened up so many shadow abilities, so many colors that you could make. So we'll just have to see. Oh, Audra, my friend, Audra gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Audra. That was so nice of you. Thank you for that. That's so sweet of you. Oh, so nice. Thank you for that. All right. So yeah, coconut. Exactly. All right. So that is, where was I at? Okay. So they need to list each product with the FDA, including its ingredient and where it's manufactured, because they're trying to keep track of what is happening in case there's an issue. Manufacturers must ensure a cosmetic product is safe and maintain records demonstrating adequate substantiation of safety standards that products must meet to be marketed in the US. And this is something that I don't think a lot of brands are going to have trouble with, because if you're using ingredients that have been around forever, then they're already going to be cleared as safe. Where this is going to affect things is maybe some of those like extracts and like plant extracts and things that they use in skincare that have supposed antioxidant benefits. I don't know if every single one of those is FDA cleared with adequate substantiation as safe. They probably are. There's probably no reason that they wouldn't be safe, but I don't know if they have the adequate substantiation for some of these newer, quote unquote, newer ingredients where they, go get some bush in South America somewhere. They're, I don't know where they're at. They go to Argentina and they find this bush and they take the leaves off of it and they make an extract out of it. And then they put it in the cosmetics. You know what I mean? Like they just go somewhere. And there's so many ingredients like that. And they'll name it something fantastical. It'll be, the tree of life, which I think is actually an ingredient. I remember, right? The tree of life. And they'll just make up some, hokey name for it, but it'll just be some, wild plant that, it's a weed basically. So, I mean, I don't know so my point is, I don't know if those kinds of ingredients are going to be affected, because you have to prove that there's adequate substantiation that it is safe. Okay. So that might throw a monkey wrench there. Number 4, cosmetic product labels for consumers and for professionals must include contact information or report potential adverse effects and identify each fragrance allergen in a product. So there's a lot to unpack there. Professional product labels must state that only licensed professionals may use the product. So if you're marketing to salons, only salons can use that if it is a professional product. only salons can use it. So we'll have to see how deep that goes. I would imagine this would be a lot for like hair dyes and chemicals and things that they put on hair to either straighten or curl or whatever. I don't imagine this would affect shampoos and conditioners and, you know, styling products, but they may have to change. I don't know. We'll have to see how deep it goes, whether, you know, where it's Vidal Sassoon professional or whatever. Are they allowed to say professional if it's at the drugstore? I don't even know if that's an actual product, but I'm just making it up. But I don't know if it's going to go that deep. We'll just have to see. For the first part, cosmetic product labels for consumers and for professionals must include contact information to report potential adverse events. So on the product label from now on, there has to be a phone number. You already probably see it on like your toothpaste and stuff, because I believe the EU has this as a regulation. Somewhere has this regulation. But if you look on any, you know, Colgate, Palmolive, you know, product, there's a phone number that you can contact if you have an issue. It has to now be on all labels, all cosmetic labels, for consumers and for professionals. And the other thing is identifying each fragrance allergen in the product. So I don't know if this means that, you know, when you see a product that says fragrance, if they have to now break that up and say what fragrances are in there. The reason why it just says fragrance is because at one point it was decided that fragrance was a proprietary ingredient, that if brands told people what the fragrances were in their fragrance, then it wouldn't be a secret. It's like a secret thing. But the problem is there's so many people that are allergic to different kinds of fragrance. And I think the FDA is cracking down on that. So there's so much to unpack here. So much to unpack. So that's another thing. And so if you have fragrance allergies, this is a huge win for you. Huge win. And it's also with the safety issue, they have to prove that all these fragrances are safe, which is another really good thing. I'm pretty happy about that. Where did I see something I wanted to click on? Hold on. Thank you, Lisa, for becoming a member of the Collective Brain Elite. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, the resurrection plant, Lisa. I know, right? I know. Oh, thank you for watching. Count Cracula my way. Thank you for watching my 3,000 subscriber video. I appreciate you. Thank you. Liz says, I feel like these new rules are a bit much, and I will have to see how it shakes out. Personally, I feel like a lot of these are kind of overdue, but it does seem dramatic, and that's why they gave them a whole year to figure all of it out. So hopefully people are, you know, brands are figuring it out of what they're going to do. Karen says, there was an indie brand I purchased from 2 years ago based out of Alaska that I never received my order from. They blocked me on Twitter and Instagram, months of back and forth after being delayed. Wow. I am so sorry, Karen. That is terrible. Ugh. That's horrible. I'm so sorry to read that. That's terrible. Yes, and this is another Liz Lizzie says, I wonder if these new rules will raise prices of the products. That's something that the indie brand owners are talking about, that we'll get into in just a minute. All right, I just realized that we're halfway through page 2 of a little over 3-page long thing. So I need to pick up my pace. But before I pick up my pace, I do want to quickly tell you what's on my face today. The reason why the Sydney Grace palette sitting next to me is because this has become my go-to palette, the Glitzy Fritzy palette, the Blessed palette by Sydney Grace. I love this palette so much. I think the reason why I love this palette so much is because these colors look really good on me. All these colors just look really good on me. So it's really easy to use. They look so good on me. I love this palette. Mary did a fantastic job. I know I talk about this palette all the time because this is what I've been using when I have a choice of what palette I'm using. When I'm not trying to use something new, this is the one I'm reaching for every single stinking time, every time. Blush today. So this was sent in PR from Sydney Grace, I believe. I'm pretty sure they sent this to me in PR. Also PR Too Faced Cloud Crush in Velvet Crush, I believe, is my blush. These are really nice blushes. You know, Too Faced, I poop on them all the time for, you know, mediocre stuff. Their blushes are really nice. And the packaging is beautiful. My lipstick today is this Milani Cheek Plot product that I just got in PR. This is Nude Kiss. Their new cream cheek products works great as a lipstick. I try to do something different with my mascara and eyeliner today. You cannot see my lashes, which is such a bummer because in person it looks way prettier than it looks on camera, I promise you. But my mascara is also from PR Benefit FanFest, my new fave. Love this mascara. If you need a lot of length and volume, it's fabulous. I know you can't see it. I know you can't. I can see it. But I have the smallest, stupidest lashes. They're just... Phoenix has the most beautiful long lashes, and my lashes are like nothing. So I need a lot of help. A lot of help, and I love that mascara. For eyeliner today, I wanted to show you because I really am not the hugest fan of the way my eyeliner looks right now, but we're going with it. I started off with the JCat Beauty Roll It Up Auto Liner in brown. I think it's called brown. Yeah, it's in brown, and it's too warm. I didn't think it looked great. So I switched it up, and now I'm using the ColourPop one. So this was purchased. This is PR. The ColourPop one is, I think it's espresso. No, brouhaha. So I switched it up and made it a little darker. So the top, so the lighter one, get my face out of there so the camera focuses. So the lighter one is the JCat Beauty one. The darker one is the ColourPop one. And I think it looks a lot better, but I do feel like it looks a little weird. I'm not a fan of it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it after chat. I don't like the way it looks, but is what it is. So, but yeah, so that's what's on my face today. And also I wanted to just shout out very quickly, congratulations to Steph's Beauty Stash on her beautiful palette with Gourmand Girls. Just absolutely beautiful. Let me just show you. I have not used it yet. It is brand new to my life. I was going to use it today, but it did not match with the color theme of what I was going with today. So I did not use it today, but freaking love Gourmand Girls. I love the quality of their products. I am obsessed with the palettes they've sent me. And this I am very excited to play with. All right. So yeah, exactly. Adele, love that mascara. Me too. Me too. Danny, 21 Days of Beauty is coming up again. Yes, it is, but they're not calling it 21 Days of Beauty anymore. I don't know what they're calling it. I forgot what it is, but they're changing the name. I didn't know all the details. For product report tomorrow, I have a little bit of information about it, but not a lot because I had very little information on Saturday when I filmed. But there's more information. I'll probably throw it into the description box. But yes, Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. If you are platinum or diamond member of their rewards program, you should have early access to the beginning of the sales. I did read that they're not releasing all of the sales from the jump. They're just releasing them. I'm not sure if it's weekly or bi-weekly. But yeah, it's going to be different this time, which I'm not sure if I'm a fan of what they're doing, but we'll go with it. We'll see how it goes. All right. Yeah, I don't know why the name is changing. I don't know what they're doing over there. Just leave well enough alone. Everybody loves it. I don't understand why they got to change things. If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? All right. So the next section was how will they hold brands accountable? So we can probably zip through this pretty quickly. So if a cosmetic manufacturer or a brand is found in violation of these rules, you could have a facility suspension. The FDA has the authority to suspend a facility's registration if a cosmetic product manufactured by that facility has a reasonable probability of causing serious adverse health consequences. You notice that it doesn't say that they didn't label something correctly. It's for facility suspension for the reasonable probability of causing serious adverse health consequences. I don't think they're just going to suspend a facility because they're, not doing something exactly correct. But that is there as a consequence. Records access. The FDA has the authority to access product manufacturers' records relating to cosmetics products if the agency reasonably believes the product presents a threat of serious adverse health consequences. So you notice that these are both having to do with serious health problems, which we should have that. Like if there's a facility and they know they're making dangerous things, AKA contaminated lipsticks, they should be able to suspend that facility. I'm just saying, they couldn't before, now they can. Number 3, recall authority. The FDA has mandatory recall authority if the agency determines a cosmetic product is adulterated or misbranded. Okay, I'll explain that in a second. And that exposure to the product will cause it says, and that the exposure to the product will cause serious adverse health consequences or death. Death. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Adulterated and misbranded. So remember when I did the video on the crayon case years ago? That was a case of misbranding. So if let's say I misspelled, an ingredient is misspelled, or there's an ingredient on there that is actually not even a cosmetic ingredient because it's so badly misspelled. And I don't blame the crayon case for that. I blame their manufacturing facility. Like they should have doubled, chances are the crayon case submitted the ingredient list, and wherever they got that ingredient list from whatever lab that they were using in China, because it did say made in China on their products, they misspelled them. And the crayon case then gave that to the people that were making the palettes and printing the palettes. But somewhere in there, somebody should have been spelling these ingredients correctly. Like it was really bad. It was so bad. I've never since seen ingredients spelled so bad. It's one thing if you spell hexaethyl palmitate with a T-E-T-E instead of a T-A-T-E. Like that's whatever. But if it's so bad that you can't even tell what the ingredient was supposed to be, that's really bad. So my point is, and this was many, many years ago. I don't know if I don't keep up with them anymore because the owner we didn't vibe at the time. Let's just say that. But I don't know if they still are having issues or if there's still issues over there, if they're even still in business. I have no idea. But my point is that from now, if products they can recall those products if they are adulterated or misbranded, but it says and not or, that it could cause serious adverse health consequences. So in that case of the crayon case, when things were just horribly misspelled, I don't think that they would have been recalled because there wasn't any evidence that there was anybody being harmed by it. So that's something that I kind of wish that they could. If something's misbranded, I wish that they could recall those, because I feel like it does need to be clear what ingredients are in a product. I don't know. Oh, Angie's here. Hi, Angie. Angie says, usually the ones putting the palette and doing the ingredients are the same place, not for all, but most smaller brands. Oh, thank you, Angie. Angie would know. Thank you, Angie. Okay. All right. Well, that adds some information. I appreciate you. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. So Ali Sue Blog says e.l.f. has 3 different ingredient lists for the new foundation, 2 on the UK website and 1 on the packaging. That is so interesting. So the one that is going to count is the one on the packaging that you own. That is the one that needs to be accurate. The one on the website does not have to be accurate. It doesn't. All you have to do is put the little disclaimer that says ingredients may change at any time. Loopholes. We love the loopholes. Sarcasm /S. Yeah. So the one that's on your bottle, that's the one that matters. And if you're concerned about an ingredient list before you buy, one thing you can do is you can email the brand and say, hey, I see an ingredient list here. I see an ingredient list here. I want to order. What's the ingredient list that's going to be on my product? And they should be able to tell you that. But you shouldn't have to do that, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Makeup as toys. Rocker Girl wants to know. I don't know. If it is a cosmetic product and it has a cosmetic use, it should have to follow these rules. It should. I'm curious how this is going to affect the Halloween makeup that tends to have, it's been tested, and a lot of it, some of it has been tested, I should say, to have lead in it and all that kind of stuff. I'm hoping this will help with that issue, because the Halloween makeup that you get at Halloween stores terrifies me. Like I avoid it at all costs unless there's absolutely no other option for my kids, and then I definitely keep it away from their eyes and their mouth. So just stuff is creepy, super creepy. Chances are the stuff's fine, but it's been tested before in the past. So utmost of caution, I stay away from Halloween marketed makeup that's at Halloween stores. Aha, Danny says, oh, I just realized if an ingredient label says essential oils, does that mean they have to list the essential oil? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Oh, we only have 15 minutes left and I have so much to tell you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Preemption. MOCRA preempts state and local laws that differ from the federal law on registration, product. Wait, I lost track. I wasn't paying attention to what I was reading because the dog was barking. Preemption. MOCRA preempts state and local laws that differ from the federal law on registration, product listing, good manufacturing products. So basically they're saying that this law is going to, it doesn't matter what your state law is. This one is more important. So MOCRA does not prevent states from prohibiting or limiting use of ingredients in cosmetic products or continuing to affect existing laws that require reporting of certain ingredients to states. So if your state is more restrictive, cool. If your state is less restrictive, not cool. That we're gonna override anything that's less restrictive, but if it's more restrictive, you're fine. Number 5, over-the-counter drug cosmetic clarity. So this is specifically for drugs. Drugs including sunscreen. For products classified as a drug and as a cosmetic under the FDCA, so that would be like a foundation that has sunscreen in it, the drug requirements of the FDCA take precedence over cosmetic requirements. So Food and Drug Cosmetic Act is going to take precedent. I guess that's not that important to us specifically, at least that, my brain can comprehend at this moment. Yeah, so it's just order of operations when it comes down to it. Small business accommodations. This one's really important. The current good manufacturing practices rules, CGMP regulations issued by the FDA must offer flexibility, simplified requirements, and a more extended compliance period for small businesses. So that is a win for indie brands. They need to maintain health-related adverse event reports for 3 years rather than 6 years. Very small business, as defined by MOCRA, are generally exempt from compliance with good GMP and facility product registration requirements. So there are still indie brands that are making their products in their houses. They're actually pressing the shadows themselves. And this is basically saying that if they are a very small brand, then they can continue to do that. At least that's the way I'm interpreting it. I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but that's the way I'm interpreting it. So very small indie brands. It feels like a lot of the very small indie brands are not doing that. A lot of them, not all of them, of course, but they're more likely to get small quantities from a Chinese lab. That's where it seems like a lot of them are going, is getting the white label stuff, the stuff that's already been created. And, you just pick the colors and you put them in the palette and they're already done. So I don't know how many companies are actually pressing their own shadows. Y'all probably know better than I do, as far as which brands are actually doing it themselves. But it says they're generally exempt from compliance with the facility and product registration requirements. So that's kind of interesting. All right, animal testing. MOCRA did not include any specific provisions related to animal testing, but notes that Congress believes manufacturers should not use animal testing for cosmetic products. Yay, they're saying it out loud, that cosmetics should not be tested on animals, period. PCPC and its member companies have worked closely with key stakeholders, including Cruelty Free International and the Humane Society of the United States, to advocate for the passage of the Humane Cosmetics Act. So they are trying to make animal testing for cosmetics specifically off the table as far as an option. And they're very vocally saying they don't believe in animal testing for cosmetics, which I think is freaking fantastic. Love that. So this is a great question, Lola. Will this affect the whole clean beauty labeling? I don't think so, which makes me a little sad, because I wish that they would put in there more regulations on things that people can claim, like clean beauty, like defining clean beauty. That's all I want. I don't want clean beauty to die. I just want it to be defined. I just want them to say, what does that mean? What does that mean? And have it be rooted in science, not in fear mongering. Don't tell me that parabens are bad for everybody when there is literally no scientific evidence that they are bad for everybody. And I know that there are going to be people that are going to yell at me in the comments because I said that, but look at the science. The science says that parabens are incredible preservative, and we are currently not using them because the media scared people, and for no other reason. For no other reason. Just because they found parabens in cancerous breast tissue, which is what happened, they never said in that study how much parabens are in healthy breast tissue, because there's parabens in healthy breast tissue too. Just because you find something doesn't mean it's the cause of the thing. And it drives me absolutely bonkers. So if they're going to regulate clean beauty and they're going to say, this is what clean beauty is, it needs to be based in science. And I love that Dr. Bumpus is in charge, because Dr. Bumpus is going to make sure everything is based in science. And I believe that in my entire soul. Because Dr. Bumpus is a science nerd and we are all science nerds. We can be science nerds together. If you did not watch my interview with Dr. Bumpus, it was very good. I love her dearly. She's fantastic. Unfortunately, she has to be super, super pro. And, there were a couple of politically kinds of answers in there because, you've got to when you're in that kind of position. But overall, I think she's super fab. Okay. Yeah. So Dawn says clean beauty is not clean if it goes bad in 6 months. You said it. You said it. All right. Yeah, and Audra says that part. Exactly. All right. So we only have 10 minutes left. I want to get into this. FAQ section of the Personal Care Council's website. They said that small businesses with average gross sales of less than $1 million over 3 years, that's what it is, are generally exempt from the compliance of the facility thing. So they have to have less than $1 million in sales over 3 years to be considered a small business. Very small businesses are generally exempt from, we already said that. That was part of another thing. It's just double up with information. They did not include any specific provisions related to animal testing. See, I already talked about that. I'm doubling up here. All right. So this is what the indie beauty brands were saying in this article with Beauty Independent. Okay. Pretty much all of them were saying that they think MOCRA is great. They think that it's really important for our consumers to be safe. It's really important for a lot of these regulations to go into place. Like they were all saying it, as we were talking about last week about how you got to say something nice before you say something not nice. It's just, that's just communication that just happens all the time. So a lot of them were like, yes, this needs to happen. We're excited about it. We're really happy consumers are going to be protected. We're already complying with EU regulations, wherever. Like they're all, beefing up, bumping up their brands or whatever. But then they talk about the things they're nervous about. There were, I believe, 4 key points. Five key points they were nervous about. First one, new regulations may increase instances of frivolous litigation and put small companies out of business. So if you are found to be using these pressed pigments because you can literally in the US sue for anything. You can sue for anything. But it's expensive. So people will if they have money to burn, you're going to sue and try to get some kind of money, right? But what the brands are concerned about is that if they don't follow everything, that there's going to be class action lawsuits or other lawsuits that are frivolous, and that the money that it takes to go through the lawsuit will put the brand out of business, which is kind of building on that Lisa Frank story, that basically Glamour Dolls was pretty much put out of business after Lisa took all their money, which is something that we'll touch on in part 3. I have the transcript of Peter's testimony in the court case. And it is very interesting. So whenever I get into part 3, I'll share that with you. But that's one of the things is basically he said that he ended up being the only employee of Glamour Dolls after Lisa Frank took all their money. And he wasn't even paying himself because he had no money. She basically put them out of business for a short period of time. So it looks like they've gotten themselves back because they're now selling cosmetics again. But that's my point is, in tying it back to this, is that indie brands are nervous that somebody's going to bring a lawsuit that doesn't, just because they didn't, cross a T or dot an I, and it's going to put them out of business. Number 2, increase in operational costs, which we touched on earlier, in order to comply, because all the labels have to change and all of that. And there may be other compliance things that they're worried about that will increase operational costs. Number 3, may stifle innovation and pivots because it may take longer for products to be available to consumers. Because remember, the lab, when they create a new product, they have to report that to the FDA. So it's going to slow down the production of all of the cosmetics. So if you have an idea, you can't just put that in and get it out ASAP. There's other things they have to go through in order to put that on shelves or on websites. So they're worried about, things not going to market as fast as they used to. Remember, this is an indie brand perspective. One founder said, quote, "The days of organically growing a beauty business from a home-based setup are coming to an end due to the increased regulatory demands." I didn't see that in what I read, but I trust that they know more about it than I do. So that's something to keep an eye out for indie brands specifically, that she said the days of organically growing a beauty business from a home-based setup are coming to an end due to the increased regulatory demands. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Again, it's going to all come down in late this year is when it's really going to come down, and we're going to see which indie brands survive and which ones don't, unfortunately. And I'm real nervous for some of these indie brands that they're just not going to make it through this. I hope they do. I really hope they do. And the fifth one is packaging and labeling will be affected because they have to be compliant, but it also has to look good. Because if you are now requiring all the essential oils and all the fragrances to be listed, your ingredient list just grew tremendously. Plus, you now have to have this like phone number on there of where to contact if you have an issue. So they're adding more to the label. But so you have to somehow make that label really big, but also, because if you're thinking about, I have like an eyeliner and I want to sell it, I want to sell the eyeliner and, in a little caddy or whatever, where you just pick up the eyeliner and take it. It's got a little tiny label here. Like, you can't do that. Do they still do that? You're going to have to put this in some kind of package that can handle the ingredient list all the time. So I don't know how much of that is even happening at this point, though. So that's the end of my notes. And I have all the resources here. They're down here. I will put all those resources in the description box once chat's over. But I would love to know what you all are thinking at this point. Audra says, I despise clean beauty based in fear. And to be honest, the cost of those products for them to go bad so quickly. No, I'll give me my preservatives. So my moisturizer lasts until I'm finished with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Causation, not correlation, 100%. Suzanne says, so non-US indie brands will perhaps refuse to sell here. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, but I don't know if these regulations are harder than the EU regulations. If they're already selling in the EU, because a lot of them, I would imagine they're either selling in the US and the EU, or just the EU or just the US. I don't know. I don't know how this compares to the current EU regulations, but from what I'm reading, it seems like they're getting closer to what the EU is already doing. But they could refuse to sell to the US. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that a lot of indie brands that start up here, they start with not selling internationally because the EU regulations are different. So we may have indie brands launching, in England or in Ireland or, wherever. And even I don't know, with Brexit, I get confused who's where and who's what, following what laws. I have no idea. But my point is if they're following EU regulations, they may then say we can no longer ship to the US, or new brands that start over there may say one day we'll ship to the US because we need to make sure we're in line with US regulations, like a lot of indie brands do here with shipping out there. Angie says, and the study was taken back because the scientists made a big mistake. Yeah, the paraben one. The parabens were not there. Oh, really? And there was dye he put in to track what? I didn't realize that that the parabens actually weren't there. I have not heard that. That's interesting. I will definitely have to look that up. That is so interesting. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Julie says, again, I'm not going to say the FDA does not have the funding for this, and Congress is not going to give it to them. So how is this going to work practically? I have no idea. Julie, I don't know. We'll just have to see. I mean, this is why, this is when cosmetics become political, because it's all going to depend on Congress and what they prioritize is what it comes down to. I mean, you would think that cosmetic safety would be a bipartisan issue, but I don't know. And where is it on the priority list? I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, Julie. We'll have to wait and see. Danny says, I work for Sephora, so I'm just thinking of how much product we have to send back so they can put the correct packaging and labels. Do you think consumers will be mad when stock runs extra low? Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. When it comes to Sephora, I'm thinking the brands are already on it. Like, they already know. You should probably start seeing, Danny, these labels showing up in the summer. Like the one brand was saying in July, they're gonna Menagerie was saying in July they're gonna start not using the pressed pigments in their eyeshadow palettes anymore, the not safe for eye use pigments. I have a feeling you're gonna start seeing those labels early. I don't think they're gonna let that happen unless they're just not prepared and they're just not following what they should be doing. But I think customers would be mad if stock runs extra low, but I don't think the big brands are going to let that happen. I would say maybe the smaller brands that you all carry. I don't know if you still carry like Violet Voss and like some of the brands that just aren't as huge. Maybe they might struggle with it more, but big brands like Urban Decay and Benefit and all those brands, I don't think they're going to have an issue. Rare Beauty, they're not going to have an issue. They'll figure it out. But I'd be curious, Danny, come back and let me know if you're seeing a difference in the labels this summer. See if I was right. See if I was right. Oh my gosh, thank you, Leah. Leah gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. So if you were gifted a membership, you now have access to our members only live streams that we've done in the past. And also, if I'm able to, I release videos early to you. So you get to see them. And hopefully one day we'll do another live stream because they are super fun. Polly says other countries have been using a cleaner list of ingredients for years. These are ingredients that are outlawed in other countries, but not in the United States. That's actually not as accurate as what people think. Let me explain. I'm out of time, but let me explain really quickly. So the ingredients that are outlawed in other countries, but not in the United States, a lot of them are things that are never used in cosmetics. A lot of them are, they'll say, lead is on the list. Okay, we can have parts per million contamination of lead, so can the EU, but no one's going to put lead on an ingredients list, but it's banned in the EU. So when you see that big, huge list of things banned in the EU and only this many banned in the US, it's misleading because the regulatory process for banning ingredients is different in the different places. And they have to list a lot of things that just are not things that the US would ever technically ban because they're not cosmetic ingredients. So that's something definitely that I want you to look into, Polly, and see like how much of what, because some of what you're saying is true and right, and some of what you're saying is manipulated by the media, who is fear mongering. People like Environmental Working Group, they are the #1 fear monger of all fear mongers, and they feed a lot into the media. They have lobbying groups and all of that. So definitely go look into that and filter through and see like what's real and what's not when it comes to that. Because they have been using a cleaner ingredient list for years, but it's not because those things are being used in the US. It's just because of regulatory differences. I don't know if that made sense. Hopefully it made sense. But that's one of the things that MOCRA is supposed to be helping is if there are things that can be proven to be unsafe, like the formaldehyde releasers that Dr. Bumpus has been working on, then they want to ban those in the US. And MOCRA is a step toward that. So hopefully that made sense, because sometimes I don't make any sense when I'm talking about things. But it is time to go. Thank you all so much for being here. Hopefully I explained that well. I will put all the links, and you can always just Google search what is MOCRA, and the FDA website will pop up and you can kind of go through and read through yourself. I am just very curious how this is all going to shake out, but there are going to be a lot of changes over the next, especially from the summer to the winter of 2024 when it comes to cosmetics. And I'm so curious. I will be following it. I will let you know what I see. Make sure you tell me what you see, so we can all be one big collective brain together and watching out for these changes. It's going to be interesting. So all of my best, all of the indie brands, I hope that they all do very, very well. And mad love to you. Have a wonderful week. This week, I think I'm going to do the weird makeup collabs video because I'm really excited about it. It's really fun. There are some weird cosmetic collabs that you probably didn't know about and or don't remember that I'm really excited to share with you. Number one is one that I don't know if you're going to remember. And it's horrible. It is literally the worst. I don't even know why it happened, to be honest. So, all right. So that's your teaser for Friday. Mad love. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.